In this session, we are going to see how to execute a simple HQL query in Hive. But before we start learning HQL, we need to know how to access Hive and how to move the data which is residing in our HDFS into Hive tables. So I have a file in my local file system called employee.txt. This file contains 3 rows and 3 columns. The first column corresponds to an employee ID, the second column corresponds to an employee name, and the third column is the employee's department. Now this is a structured file which is delimited by comma. We are going to see how we can load this file into a Hive table. Before we can go into the Hive shell, we need to move this file in an HDFS location. For that, we are going to use the put command, and we will move this file into this folder. So now this folder in my HDFS contains 2 files. So now this location in my HDFS contains 3 files. We can check the contents of each file in this directory by executing the cat command of Hadoop. Now we can see that abc.txt contains this one line which does not correspond to the schema of the other 2 files. Both employee and employee2 file contains the same schema. So now we'll see what happens when we try to load the combination of this data into a single Hive table. So once we have the data in HDFS, we can go to the Hive shell. So now we will create the table in Hive by defining the schema of the table. So my first column is ID, which is an integer data type. My second column is the employee name, which is of type string, and my third column is the department, which is also of type string. While creating the Hive table, I have to specify how my rows and columns are delimited. So I have row format delimited and fields terminated by comma. And finally, we need to provide a location in HDFS where my file is residing. This location cannot be a file. It has to correspond to a directory in HDFS. So now my file is created. Next, we will look at how the data got loaded into our new Hive table. We can see that the first line we have nulls. This corresponds to the file which did not adhere to the schema which I defined here in the Hive table. The next 2 files, that is employee and employee2, got loaded exactly as we defined the schema. Now we will see how an HQL statement works. Queries in HQL are submitted to Hive. Hive converts this query into a MapReduce job. The job is executed on top of the HDFS location where our data is residing. And finally, the result is generated once the job completes successfully. Now we can see that the MapReduce job is executing, and now it has successfully fetched one row, and here we can see the result of that one row, which is 7, which is the total count of the number of rows in the Hive table. So this was an example of how to load data in a Hive table and execute HQL queries on top of the data. In the next session, we will explain what are the various ways of loading the data into Hive tables and what are the different kinds of tables that we can create in Hive.